Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and today's car is the Bentley Continental GT-S. This is the V8 version of the Conti GT. I've tested W12 version first in 2018 of the new version of this one, and then the Speed version a year ago, January 2022. And I've never actually sampled the V8 version. So a quick call to Bentley, and this car came in, and this is the S version that has quite a few enhancements on it, including the black trim we'll have a look at in a moment. And I got this model in because I've always wanted to see how differently the V8 version of the Conti GT handled to the W12, hence this one. And in S specification, well, I thought that's the one I ought to try. And it's quite significant now because Bentley have just announced that the W12 is ceasing production. The last one will be produced in April 2024, so you can only order it in 23. By the end of this year, they will close the order books. So the V8 version will live on. And I have to say, in the spec of this particular press car, it's a beautifully handsome car in this green. It's verdant paintwork with black line specification of the exterior, complemented by satin Brodgar finished 22-inch sports wheels. It's also quite an expensive car. It's listed £198,600. When I phoned Bentley just now, actually the price has gone up to £200,600. It's a 20,000 or thereabouts saving over the Speed. So what are the differences between the two? Let's go and have a closer look. Now for the front, it's very similar to that Speed I had in, which actually had a slightly extended splitter here, but not so on this. This black, I just think really suits this car, instead of having all the chrome. And yes, it's in plastic, but that's because of safety regulations. You can't have the hard metal. And the lights are just jewellery with this sort of cut on them, like a whiskey glass or something. But if you come round, this car has the enormous standard brakes with steel brakes, which I wouldn't complain about at all. You do get a lot of brake dust. It's also, this car is fitted with the P0 all-season tyres because it's February, and that's what Bentley do on their press cars. Again, this is the signature S, very nicely done in black. When we get to the interior, it is beautifully done. And the other neat trick on this particular car, it has a glass roof, which in the black is almost lost in it, but inside makes a big difference. It was a box I think was well worth ticking. And again, I never tire of this rear brake light. This tiny sliver of red works really well, and as a design feature is terrific. This car has sports exhaust on the S, and it's very noticeable. When we start it up, you do get to notice the sound it makes, and I love the way that works as well. Big boot, no ski hatch on this one. There's a battery hiding under here because they're obviously trying to do whatever they can to get the weight distribution correct at, I think it's 55-45 rear on this one, which is actually the same as the W12. Let's go and have a look at the engine. Big struts coming across here between the two suspension towers, and again, it's the Hot V. This is the engine that we see in a number of cars. Same as the KN I had in the other day, it's in the Urus and that sort of thing. Weirdly, in this car, it's 542 horsepower, which is the same as the V8. It's not enhanced horsepower for the S version, which I find a bit strange. And the good news is I can take the cover off this car. There we go. So you can now sort of see the engine. Now these are the two intakes, and all this metal shroud in here is because the turbos are here. It's a Hot V is the description of this engine, and V8, it's always slightly further forward than you really want it to in the Bentley, just because of the gearbox configuration, how it actually works and splits the power, which does throw the engine a bit further forward. It's not one of those cars that's set right into the bulkhead, but it's great to be able to take the cover off it. But what this car is all about is the driving, so let's take it outside now. As ever, a beautiful place to step into. Wants me to take my seatbelt, that's what Bentleys are like. They have a sort of butler service for that. And yeah, there's a few extras in here, isn't there? There's Bang & Olufsen for Bentley audio system, 5,280. Bentley rotating display, which I'll probably have to start the engine to get the display, and that'll do its business there. Look at that. I don't want that. do this. It'll do another spin, and then you've got the 3 dials as well. Very clever. £4,965, a must on all Bentleys. And a panoramic glass roof, so not an opening roof, 3,280. Front seat comfort specification, 3,275. I suspect that the standard seats are very comfy too. Yeah, and also there's two-tone on here because it's S. And yeah, interior two-tone Cumbrian green leather with camel accents and crown-cut walnut fascias and cabin detailed with contrasting stitching. This is sort of, I've never seen a Bentley done in this. This is proper, genuine wood, but it's not varnished to death. This is sort of a satin look. This just feels like real, proper wood. Bentley are just masters at all this stuff. Under here, I've got a place to charge my phone should I want to. Yeah, not a lot of space in the back, but just a beautiful place to be. Tight wheel, gear change. It's no haptic controls in sight. The good thing about this car being first appeared in 2018, that disease of haptic controls hadn't hit the VW group at that point. So I have buttons to control things, and they're all very logically laid out. Anyway, enough whittering. Let's get going into drive, disappear off, and go find some better roads. Now, something I've noticed on this car, it does have this exhaust system on it that must be valved or something, because it does sound very different. If I just put it into park, and I'm in Bentley setting at the moment, if I put it into sport, very different sound to Bentley. Yeah, we'll hear it a bit more when we get out, but very definitely a V8 sound. Very different to W12, but I've got it all back into normal. I'll just set off here. Yeah, I can't decide how much of it is false, that sound, but very noticeable. And the other interesting thing, super quiet. I measured it, this is the bit of road I measure, it's 68, 69 decibels, which makes it one of the quietest cars I've tested. And it's all got all the tricks, all the double glazing, very well insulated, and it just suits the car. It is a very relaxing way it travels, and you'll get to see that ride when we get onto my tested bit of road is very good. Really comfortable car, mile muncher as we used to term it in the old days. I also ought to mention it's got the 8-speed dual clutch transmission. Unlike that Cayenne I tested, it had an automatic gearbox and almost all of its rivals. It's got this dual clutch transmission, which actually adds some snappiness to the gear change, but does have some downsides. And mainly just slightly clumsy on reverse and first. There's a slight pause when you go between the two, and I came slightly unstuck when I was reverse stopped and then reversed out on a sort of downhill slope, and before it actually engaged the reverse, we rolled forward an uncomfortable amount, but then it got hold and went back. So that's the flip side of a dual clutch transmission. It's not quite as instantaneous as a normal torque converter gearbox, but 99% of the time it offers more with that snappy gear change. Just coming up to the squirt up the hill. I think I'll actually put it into sport. Yeah, there's a bit of false sound, I'm sure, coming through there. It's quite a lot from the exhaust, but there is some extra bass, I'm sure, that's piped in here. And it does quite a number of adjustments. It's also adjusting the dampers, and it's obviously adjusting how it controls the gearbox. So here I am, speed 30 miles an hour. Here we go, kick down. Yeah, it's not as wallop as the W12 was out of there, but it's still quite impressive. They quote 3.9 seconds to 60 and then 8.2 seconds to 100 miles an hour. So mighty impressive numbers for a car that is well over 2 tonnes. W12 numbers 3.7 from memory to 60 and 7.8 to 100. So a bit quicker, but once you're down in the 7 and 8s, you're very quick, whatever car you're in. Let's put it into sport to see what it's like out of here. Foot on the brakes, full acceleration, here we go. Impressive, really impressive. Quite a party trick, really. I'm going to put it back down to Bentley, get it to calm down a bit. But yeah, they do know how to do that within Bentley and, well, VW Group. They are exceptional how easy their cars are to launch and just how they really maximise the acceleration times by all clever electronics. Now down here, really very good. This is a tested bit of tarmac. No, I don't know it from here. It is remarkable. I know it's got weight on its side, but there's very clever damping going on. Very little deflections. You know, we know cars at tramline down here, not this one. Absolutely arrow straight. There could be a storm raging outside. Just carry on, regardless. Yeah, nice place to be as ever. Super comfy seats, visibility great, mirrors great. Right, see what's down here. I might just put it back into sport. Let's go over this. Touch of paddle, go to manual. Turn into here. It might be on all season tyres, but it's making a pretty good fist of it down here. It has part of the S package, back to Bentley, part of the S package is the sort of Mulliner Drive package that also includes those 48 volve motorised anti-roll bars. They weigh a fair bit, that I think, those sort of anti-roll bars, but they do a very good job allowing the wheels to have better, freer travel when just gliding in a straight line. And as soon as you get to a corner, they then do their anti-roll trickery with the motors on it. And they do a very, very good job and disguise the mass of this car. Interesting, when I looked at the weights between the V8 version and the W12 version, it was much closer than I expected. This one is listed at 2,165 kilos and the W12 Speed was 2,240 kilos, so only 75 kilos between the two, and that's EU weights with driver. So I was surprised that the W12 didn't actually put the weight up that much more. Probably time just to go through some likes and dislikes of this car. Well, I've had it for a few days, and while it's really very clever how it all works and the dynamics of it, I can't say it's fun to hustle down a sort of road like this. Its forte, as I said before, is eating miles rather than scratching around B roads, etc. With the electric steering, I don't really get that feel from it, and it does it, and it's impressive. But I can't say it's engaging and fun. It just feels like, the engineers have been doing clever things, but it's not engaging in a way perhaps I found the DBS or something like that. Right, let's have a quick look around here. I'm in third here. Yeah, it does it, and it does it very well. But I'm not getting that feedback I would hope. Another dislike with it, I suppose, is the price keeps going up. You know, when I first looked at the W12, where it was about 160, the 20,000 discount has always been there, but now we've got the Speed 12 knocking the door of 221,000, and this is 200,000. That's punchy before you even add any options to it. You're in 220,000 pounds for one of these cars. So they've gone up remarkably in the last few years, 40,000 pounds. But there's a queue at the door at Bentley, so that's probably why they've gone up. And the queue is there. If I turn to the lights, it's just the depth of quality of this car. Every turn, everywhere you look, it feels quality. It's a statement car that is so usable, so easy to live with, and you just step in it. Oh, I'm in Scotland. How did that happen? And that's what you're buying a Bentley for. Other details, I think the design is fabulous. It hasn't aged a bit. It is statement Bentley. They used to have that range sitting above this, the Mulsanne, etc. No need now, because this is such a good car and just says Bentley on the can. It just looks terrific. Another obvious like is the interior and the ambience. Anybody who steps in here is impressed. You just can't help to be, and it's great that it's proper wood. It feels handmade, and you can see where that price came from. But would I buy one? Now, there's a hesitation there, because knowing that the W12 is going to go out of production and comparing the two together, I'm surprised, but I would go for the W12. That punch, that 900 Newton meters of punch, the step off, the raciness feel of it, the knowing that you've got the ultimate, I would go for W12 over this. And yes, it's a £20,000 premium, but when you're at 200,000, well, I would go for the top dog. And you know it's going to be not long for this world, and I think it offers that bit more. It's almost as though this car isn't allowed to show its full potential. They can't tune the engine right up to 650, because that would step on the toes of the W12. So while the W12 is there, I would go book one, because it's a car that, when did the first W12 Bentley Continental GT come out? 2001, 2, 20 years we've had it, and it's a legend in its own lifetime. Just quickly go around here again, I think. Oh. These power out of there. I think this car, as I say, it's a legend in its own lifetime, but also it will last more than a lifetime. I would say this car will last at least 3 lifetimes. Yes, it's a premium to pay, but I can understand it from now spending another week in a Bentley Conti GT. It's always a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, well, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming along very soon.